So what's up people, and welcome to another P.A.M.E.L.A Starters Guide. So ever since the massive update 0.3.0.1, also known as the Nirvana update, the past starter guides has become obsolete, mostly because of the fact that the gameplay with regards to this game has changed dramatically. There is no more harvesting, and instead there's different ways of gathering resources, and because of that, the initial strategy to keep yourself alive has slightly changed over the past few guides. Also, I think despite the tutorial that comes out in the game, I think there are still things that are still not clear with regards to the game. So I thought I would make this starter's guide that will help at least a lot of the new players stay alive through the initial parts of the game until they could get to a level where they'll be pretty much self-sufficient, and then, you know, they could go on with the gameplay. Okay, so first up we have the quick keys, which were given in the tutorial but not always easy to remember, so I've listed some of the more common ones here, and I don't have them in any real order, so I'll just start from the beginning. The key E is used to generally activate things, like to open and close boxes, to open and close doors, to turn switches on and off, and so forth. It's also the key that's used to loot many of the zombies, and you could use E both to open the zombies inventory as well as to close it, so you don't have to use the X key that's at the corner of the inventory box. You could just press E, and that way things will be quicker and you don't have to worry as much about zombies attacking you while you're trying to loot zombies for their dropped items. You could just press E and it'll open and close the zombies inventory. Now I is used to open and close your own inventory. So if you ever are in the middle of running around exploring and you need to open up your inventory to get something, then you could press I rather than pressing or opening up the AAARMS main menu and trying to get to inventory and then pressing enter to open up the inventory. You could also use I to close the inventory. Tab is the button that activates your AARMM, which is that machine that's stuck to your arm that gives all that information. So you open up that machine by tapping tab, and then you could go to the various menus there, such as the inventory or the P.A.M.E.L.A menu or the status menu or any of the other menus there to get information. Now, of course, right at the front screen you get a lot of information as well, such as your health condition, your amount that you still have with regards to your nutrition, you know, the time of day, the amount of lux you have, where you are. All of that is right at the front kind of display of your AARMM. So it's a very important one to remember, and tab is the button to access it. P is to look at the P.A.M.E.L.A window. So if you look at your AARMM, you notice that one of the menus is P.A.M.E.L.A. If you open it up, it gives you all the P.A.M.E.L.A powers that you have available, so that you could either activate them or you could put them into your P.A.M.E.L.A activation menu, you know, the equipping menu I should say, and stuff like that. So if you ever wanted to look at your P.A.M.E.L.A capabilities, then you could press P and open up that window. O is your crafting window. So whenever you want to go crafting, then you could just press O and it will open up the crafting menu, and then you could start crafting from there. Now, there is a peculiarity with the game that sometimes if you press O, then it won't close that crafting window again. So in that case, sometimes I, for some reason, pressing the inventory will help close it. It will either close it for you or it will change to the inventory menu, and then if you press I again, it will close it for you. Yes, there are some quirky stuff was still occurring in the game. T, while you're aiming the weapon, will change the weapon. Now you notice that you have a fore weapon and a dorsal weapon. For example, your one of your weapons could be the arc welder and the other could be the warden's fist. And if you want to switch between those, then you could press T. And that turns out to be really useful because, for example, you could shoot your energy ball at a bunch of zombies, you know, and stun them. And while they're stunned, then you could switch to your Warden's Fist immediately by pressing T and then pummel them down. And so that turns out to be quite useful. Q is to activate your main P.A.M.E.L.A power. So if you open up your P.A.M.E.L.A window, then you'll notice in your left-hand corner of the screen 4 P.A.M.E.L.A power slots that you could equip. And the top one, if you equip it with whatever P.A.M.E.L.A power, then when you close everything and you press Q, it will activate that P.A.M.E.L.A power that's in the top slot. So for example, the first P.A.M.E.L.A power is Blast. So if you put Blast in the top slot and you press Q, then what it will do is activate Blast and, you know, shoot everybody back. And that turns out to be quite useful as well. Now 4 is a very important button because that's the quick key to use a Medi-Hypo. So as you know, if you're in the middle of fight with a zombie, you're not about to go open up the inventory, look for a Medi-Hypo, click on the Medi-Hypo and get your health back. You want it right away. And if you want it right away, and if you have Medi-Hypos in your inventory, by pressing 4, it'll automatically access one of your Medi-Hypos and restore your health to the amount that the Medi-Hypo can give you. So that turns out to be really useful. Now if you tap R, then that will open up that scanner. You remember that scanner that's used to kind of look around in the area? It will tell you what you're kind of aiming at, and it will also repair things for you. So if you want to get that scanner to come out, then you could tap R. Now if you hold R, so you press and hold it, then what it'll do is it'll send out a scanning pulse in the neighboring areas. So what you'll see is this little pulse will go out, and then it'll highlight all the containers that you could open, and it'll also highlight anything that may have dropped onto the ground. So holding R is actually quite important. Now if you press R or tap R while you're aiming a weapon, then what it'll do is it'll restore the energy to that weapon so long as you have a battery. So just like with the Medi-Hypo, you don't want to go open your inventory up, look for a battery, you know, click on it and then go back to fighting again. You want that weapon charged right away. So the best way to do that is to aim and to tap R, and then it'll immediately restore the weapon charged for you. And then finally, the key M, if I remember right, is to open up your map. So by pressing M, it'll open and close the map again. Now one other key I want to give is a general all-purpose closing key. Every once in a while you'll see something that's open, and for some reason nothing will close it. You can't close it when you click on the corner X button. You can't find a quick key that'll close things. Sometimes if you press the Shift key, it'll automatically close a lot of the things that you have open. So if you're in doubt and you can't seem to do it any other way, press the Shift key, and a lot of times it'll close the things for you. Okay, so those are the main quick keys that I wanted to talk about in this beginner's guide. Okay, so aside from the quick keys, there are the various heads-up displays that you will utilize during the game. And I just wanted to quickly go over them here. And the first one is of course the inventory, and the main area in the middle is where you could store all the stuff that you pick up. Now the right side has all your weapons and your utilities, and it'll give a little description for each one. Your left side has your armor, as well as your shield, your heads-up display, your sigil, as well as your lens. So yeah, you could pick and choose whichever ones you get and determine what you want to load yourself up with in all of these areas. Now with regards to the weapon, as you can see, there's two menus. One gives you the description, but the other gives you the upgrade tree, and so it'll tell you the status of the upgrade that each of your weapons or your utilities is using. So you could kind of click on the tabs here to access those. Okay, so aside from that, then you could also get to your crafting menu by pressing on this little tab over here. You could switch between, of course, your inventory and your crafting menu by pressing these tabs. And if you forget, for example, how to open the crafting menu with your quick key, then you can always get at it with your tab up there. Okay, so here is the crafting menu. The crafting menu shows you all the different things that you can make, and they're all highlighted here at the top. And right now they're only showing the basic stuff, mostly because of the fact that I don't have any of my workstations turned on. Now if you do have workstations, then what you'll notice is now when you open up the crafting menu, you see that first of all, in the left side, the workstations are now turned on, and in the middle you have a lot more things that you can make, because I have all of my workstations built and I just need to energize them to run them. Okay, so that gives you, then you have access to a lot of things that you can build. The things at the bottom list show you the status of all the things you have equipped. So you could, for example, repair them using this repair kit here. So let me make a repair kit right now. All you have to do is press this plus here. And now in your inventory, if you go back to your inventory, you should have a little repair kit, which you have here. So now, if you go back here, and if you want to repair any of your items, then you just click on it, then you do the same thing. You just press the repair. And of course, you don't see it in the repair menu anymore because it's 100% repaired. Now, your left side, or your right side, I should say, sorry, is very important because it shows you all the materials that you have to make stuff. And if you notice here, for example, let me make an ion core. There's all these materials that you require, and so long as you have them, it's in green, then it'll make one. And once you make one, then what you'll notice is you'll see the ion core, first of all, materialize in your inventory, but you also see it up here. Up here it lists all the things that you can upgrade, and so you could upgrade it to ion core plus or ion core plus plus. So now I just upgraded it to ion core plus, and you notice now that the ion core is red and it says ion core plus. So now if I upgrade it one more time, let me do that, then it'll disappear because it's already maxed out, and you notice that it's turned yellow and it says ion core plus plus. So you could use, of course, your crafting station to repair things. You could use your crafting station to make things, of course, and you could use your crafting station to upgrade things. So those are the main areas that I wanted to show in the AARM. Those are the very important things that you want to do. Let me just put this thing away here. Okay, so aside from the inventory and the crafting station, the other heads-up display that's useful is, of course, the AAARMS front display itself. And as mentioned, there's all these menus that you could open up, such as the one for the P.A.M.E.L.A window, and it gives you all the capabilities that you have here. Right now there's a glitch in the game and it's a little bit hard to show you, but usually you could drag and drop these capabilities to the left hand side, those 4 slots there, and that will give you the available P.A.M.E.L.A powers that you can use. So just because you have a bunch of them available doesn't mean you can equip all of them. Now the inventory is, of course, the inventory that we just talked about. The status menu gives you the status of yourself, and aside from that, it'll give you the menu of all the augments you have. So if you put augments on and you want to see the status of the augments, then you can see it there. The next one is, of course, the map, and you can see the area of the location where you are and where you need to go. It'll also highlight some of the key items that you might be interested in looking for. And then the data pad has all these databases of various things. You should go through them. In fact, right in the beginning, very quickly, though. I wouldn't spend too much time right in the beginning to do this. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But later on, when you're a little bit settled down, then I would suggest that you go through them. Now, there is a tutorial here. So if you do want to check in on the tutorial, then it can be useful. Okay, so that's basically the AARM. Okay, well, so much for the heads-up displays and the quick keys. Now we could go into the game. And why I wanted to make this starter's guide is basically because of the fact that in the beginning, survivability is actually quite difficult. And what you really don't know if you started playing the game for the first time is that you have very little time to get a few things going. And the best way to do that, of course, is to now start going out and exploring. And looking for all the resources that you could find in these containers, which I'm showing you and opening up here. I've looted all of them, so they're usually empty now, but typically you'll find things inside them, and many of the things there are not only food and drink, but also things like medihypos and stuff like that. You may, if you're lucky, be able to find armor or weapons, you know, but don't count on them. And if you do luck out with them, then that's really good. Then you won't need this survival guide as much. However, for a lot of us, you won't see a lot of weapons or armor, and so what you have to do is go all over the place to look for stuff. And what I would say is to spend a lot of time here to look as much as possible into the area. And up to about this area, you'll be able to kind of look around without ever meeting a zombie. However, once you get to about this area, you'll start seeing zombies. So what you have to do is to see if you could get as much material and as many boxes open as possible. Now there are locked boxes, and if you are confident that you could open them, I would, but if you're not, then leave them alone, and I'll come back to that later. There are these security robots, and if you trip the alarm because you couldn't unlock a box properly, then those robots will come after you. And if you think the zombies are bad, those robots can be worse. And so the best thing to do is to start collecting as many of these things as possible. Now, not all things are in boxes, and sometimes they're in the ground here, and you may not recognize something to pick up. And if you don't, I mean, if you point at it, then it tells you, but if you don't, then you could hold R, and that gives that scanning pulse, and then it'll immediately notify you or show you some of the things that have dropped in the ground. So yeah, walk around. As you can see, it'll highlight certain things, and so walk around in the beginning and use that hold R, you know, hold the button R, and it'll send pulses out repeatedly, and you can look around to see what's available that's dropped down to the ground. Okay, so let me repeat again. One of the first things you really need to do, whoa, I forgot to open the door. One of the first things you really need to do is to go run around this initial area as much as fast possible and as quickly as possible. You know, don't worry about reading the text and stuff. Gather as much stuff as possible, and some of the stuff you'll gather will be usable for crafting. And why this is important is because you do have a limited time. You wake up at noon, and aside from the zombies and aside from the thirst and all of those things that could eventually kill you, what you don't know is there are these rogue robots called Dark Seekers that come out at 8 o'clock in the evening, and they beeline to you and they come after you. You don't go out and meet them, they come after you. And so you have to get ready to be able to avoid them. And the best way to do that is to make this cot right here. So what this cot does is it does two very important things. One is that if you sleep in the cot, then it will restore your health and stamina. So it will reduce the amount of health and stamina medihypos that you will use, and you could recover from a lot of your injuries that way. But the other is that it will speed up the time. And so if you can somehow sleep before 8 o'clock for about 9 hours, then you will bypass the time that the Dark Seekers will come out, and then they won't attack you. If not, then you could even be in this spawning area, which is usually very safe, and the Dark Seekers will still come in here to come attack you. And they are very powerful. They are often invisible so that you can't see them, and they are relentless. They will come after you. And so many new players die repeatedly by these Dark Seekers because of the fact that you just can't really fight them or run away from them. So the cot turns out to be really good, because if you sleep, it immediately moves the time up to that certain time. Now, to make the cot, you have to make these crafting stations. And I think you need only crafting station Mark 1. And that's the station right here that I'm pointing to. And you'll see that it'll need a few of these materials. And so you want to gather the materials, and that's why I say go run around and look for as much materials as possible. You'll also need one ion core to power up the crafting station Mark 1 and this power transmitter to which you will put the ion core in so that you can power up the power transmitter. And if you have all three, and if you make all three, then finally you'll have the ability to make a cot. However, you'll also still need material to make a cot after you made all of these devices. So this is a power transmitter. It has an ion core inside. And if you do that, you can see crafting station Mark 1 power up. And the moment you do that, you will notice that this cot is now highlighted. So the first thing you really need to make is this cot, which is as you see here. And the first priority, again, before it becomes 8 o'clock in the evening or 2000 hours, and you wake up at noon, you have this accelerated 8-hour span. It's not really 8 hours, it's just 8 hours of game time, in-game time. You have to quickly look for as many things as possible and get that cot made, or else you will be meeting dark seekers. And so once you start gathering enough materials, start looking into the crafting and seeing if you can make the ion core, the power transmitter, and the power crafting station Mark 1 as quickly as possible in that order. And once that is done, then try to make the cot. And of course, to do that, of course, you have to go looking for as much material as possible. So run around in these areas. Just remember, there's all these areas. There's these restrooms. You could find containers in there. You could find containers all over the place. You could find things that are lying on the ground. Get as much stuff as possible in the initial area and craft those building equipment as soon as possible. Really, the cot is seriously important. Now, unless you're really lucky, you'll eventually have to venture beyond the initial safe zone, and then eventually you'll start seeing these zombies like this lady here. And then you'll just have to fight them. And the best way is to just do a bob and weave. So what they do is they come in and do one punch. And so if you keep on avoiding them for that first punch, then you could then go in and punch them again. And then you have to go backwards again. And once they punch, then you punch them again. And it's a time-consuming process, but it will keep your health as low as, getting hurt as low as possible. Your injuries, I should say. Now, sometimes the timing won't be right, like you see here, and you will get hit. But it sure beats going into a, fist fight with these guys, where you're just pounding them and they're pounding you. You'll get pummeled and get injured relatively quickly. So what you want to do is to keep jumping back until they make that first hit, and then you could go in for the hit. And most of the time you'll be okay, like you see here. Finally I got hit a few times, but overall I was able to take him down, and eventually you'll be able to take him down. And then you'll get some stuff here from the zombies. Let me close that door. Yeah, if the zombie passes near a door, it automatically opens. So then close the door. Yeah, and here you'll find another couple of zombies. Usually there's about 2, maybe 3 zombies. And then if you don't have a weapon, take them out one at a time. Don't get all 3 of them to notice you. If possible, get one to notice you and then run away, and then get that guy to come after you like this. Let's see. Yeah, here he comes. Yeah, and then you can do what we were doing. If all 3 come after you, then you're gonna be in trouble because of the fact that you won't be able to time your attacks because all 3 of them will be attacking you at the same time, and then you'll get hurt pretty badly. So make sure you do this bob and weave. It's there are other people who can do it better, but unless you're really good at ducking and avoiding punches, this seems to work pretty well. If it gets to a point where you're having a difficulty, then just run away and reposition yourself again and get your bearings straight again, and then you can do this again. The nice thing about these initial zombies are they're relatively slow, so if you run away, then you could gain some distance. Oh, this guy had some decent amount of food. See, so yeah, farming zombies is good because of the fact that, of course, you could get food. But in the beginning, it'll be tough because of the fact that you'll start losing some health. And that's one of the reasons why bobbing and weaving helps. But don't spend too much time farming because of the fact that, of course, you still have to build that thing. So keep looking at the items you need to make, and the components that you need to gather. Now, there's this one garrison box here, and the garrison is the military of this town, or the police of this town. So sometimes you can find good armor there. Maybe if you're really lucky, you'll find a weapon there. If you are, then you won't need this video again as much. But if not, then you keep on going. And when you come back here, you'll notice that there are more zombies now that have spawned. If you keep on going back and forth, there's usually 1 or 2 zombies that spawn here. And so you do have to be aware of that. And then you go through this whole process again. And yeah, it might be a little bit repetitive, but you really do need to start looking at getting at least comfortable with being able to at least melee fight, fist fight these initial zombies. It'll become easier in the beginning, and there'll be other zombies which are almost impossible to fist fight no matter what you do because they're so powerful. But at least these initial zombies right in this area, you don't get too many really tough enemies aside from those dark seekers. So if you stay up too late at night, then the rogue robots will come after you. So make sure, always make sure, that you go to sleep before 8 o'clock in the evening, and sleep for about 9 hours, and then you'll be okay. Now, eventually, you'll get to the point where you've opened all the items that you can in this initial hallway area. And after that, then you do want to go out here if you haven't made the cot yet. And eventually you have to come out here anyway because there's something else that you need to do, which is to transfer some power and light up this area. Now you notice that this is really bright here, and if you start playing the game, it will be a lot darker than what you see here. And the reason for that is I powered up the building to maximum power. Initially, it's at this emergency power that you see in the middle. And so here, when you see this power controller, make sure that you come all the way out here and power up that power controller, or raise the power level of that power controller to full power, and then you'll see this place become really bright, and it'll make it a lot easier to run around here. So it is a little bit more dangerous. The zombies out here can be a little bit more powerful, so you do have to do things quickly. Open boxes, avoid the lock boxes if you can't open them. Just open whatever you can, gather everything. If you can make a cot, that's fine. If not, then keep on coming out here, and then you'll have to, you'll see some more zombies. Hopefully they'll be low-level zombies like this one. You'll notice the higher level zombies. They're actually less ugly than and less terrifying looking than these normal looking zombies until you get to the really high zombies. But yeah, if you see the normal looking people, they're not normal, they're pretty angry, and they'll come after you, and they're more powerful, so you have to be careful about those people. Okay, so I fast forwarded, I finished killing the zombie, and we have to keep on rushing through here. There's another zombie over there, but I don't particularly want to fight it, and I'm hoping that it doesn't see me. And this is where you want to go. Hopefully it won't be locked. If it is, then this is the one lockpick. I would suggest that if you have lockpicks or those security scanners, that you use them here. If not, then you might have to go through hacking the lock here. But this one is worth it. This is the power transfer relay, and you press that button and it'll put power back into the building again. And this is seriously important because of the fact that, oh, let me just run away through this guy. You just punch and then run, 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 run. Yeah, okay. Okay, we'll go through this again. Anyway, yeah, it's important to transfer the power here because of the fact that if it ever runs out of power, then this entire building will go completely dark, and you don't want that to happen. You really don't want that to happen. And so, yeah, once you get out of the area, first thing you do is to go to the second floor, as I showed. You know, watch this video over again if you didn't see which direction. It's basically the first stairway that you see. You go up the stairway, you turn left, and then you go down the hall. Eventually, you'll see this room with the power transfer relay, as you see here. And yeah, it's seriously important to make sure that you transfer power here. Before you go exploring anywhere, make sure you transfer that power. Okay, now eventually you'll make that cot, and once you make that cot, things will be a lot easier because you will avoid the evenings. And then you could go exploring, and if you do, you may run into this guy, which is the Seeker. He's the good robot, you know, so long as you haven't broken any rules, such as got caught hacking into one of those boxes. And he basically guards the place, and if he sees a zombie, he'll beat it down. The reason why I'm following him is because oftentimes he'll beat the zombie and take it down. And if he does that, then you could basically loot it. And so while you're with him, then a lot of the zombies will just attack him rather than us. And so you could use him to help clear the way of zombies, and then of course you could loot the zombies to get more stuff. So yeah, following a Seeker around is good, so long as, again, you make that cot. Make sure that you make that cot before 8 o'clock in the evening, or else you'll have to deal with the Dark Seekers. And again, Mr. Robot or those good robots will not protect you from the Dark Seekers. So again, if it's starting to get close to 8 o'clock, make sure you focus all your time in the beginning to getting that cot ready so that you could bypass that first evening by sleeping. Now, after you make that cot, the things become a little bit easier, and then you could start gathering stuff and you could think about what to make next. One of the things I would suggest to make next is this speed sigil that you see here. It's not really called a sigil. I just call it a sigil because it kind of looks like a marking. It doesn't really do anything except put a marking on you. But it seems to, this one seems to make you faster. Now, there are other sigils, such as things that help you hack, you know, things that may give you stealth and all, but that speed sigil is really good because it'll help you outrun a lot of the zombies if you could run into them. Now, the other thing, of course, is if you have enough of these materials, especially the combat modules, which are not easy to get, but if you have enough of them, then making the weapon is useful. And the one that I would suggest is the arc welder, and the arc welder is really good because it's both an offensive and a defensive weapon at the same time. Not all of these weapons are offensive and defensive, but its alt fire sends out this little ball of energy that stuns everybody, and that helps you get away from zombies if you don't want to fight them. At the same time, its real fire, its main fire, will shoot electric bolts at them, and it will take them down. So out of all the weapons, I really like the arc welder the most, especially if you're a new player. If you're you know, once you become stronger, then you'll learn to use any of the other weapons, but this arc welder is seriously good. Let me see if I can find a zombie and show you. Okay, so there's a zombie over there, and so let me use my arc welder and show you. So its main fire is a bolt of electricity like I have here. Okay, and you can see that it will kind of shock the zombies, but the alt fire, which is used by pushing the scroll wheel of your mouse, will send the electric bolt, and that will sometimes stun. Oh, I just killed it. Stun the zombie, and it will give you time to get away as well as if you have multiple zombies, it'll stun all of the zombies at once. So this arc welder is seriously a nice weapon. And I would suggest that if there's any one weapon that you make, and if you have enough combat modules to make it, make the arc welder. Now, if you don't, and it's getting very close to that you really want to start exploring, the Subversor is a nice weapon. Let me just show you the arc welder again. But the Subversor is a nice weapon. It's a dark gun, and its poison starts working pretty good. It's limited in its capability compared to the arc welder, but it's a lot better than nothing. So, and it uses less combat modules. So if you can't afford to make an arc welder, but you can afford to make a Subversor, then you might want to think about making the Subversor as well. It's up to you. It all depends upon how much you want to farm this area and be without a weapon, just to get the better weapon, you know, by collecting more stuff. And once you have a weapon, the one utility I would suggest for you to make is the cyano reprocessor. Also, if you have upgrade kits that you've collected or you purchased from the vending machine, then you could use them to upgrade whatever weapon that you've created. Now, again, coming back to the cyano reprocessor, this is a really good utility to make, and I would suggest to make this first before anything else. What this does is, as you keep on upgrading this utility, it will actually give you back some power that you need to have to run your weapon. Without power, your weapon is completely useless, and that's why you gather these batteries that you see here. But eventually you may use up all your batteries and then you may run out. And so the cyano reprocessor will slowly restore some energy to you. So between the zombies, it'll recover some of the energy. Now, it may not be fast enough to recover all energy, but it will reduce significantly the amount of batteries that you use, so that you could conserve your batteries for, you know, a lot, you know, for longer explorations. Now, once you've crafted everything, including a weapon if you can, and explored all of Arc Medical, and make sure you explore all of Arc Medical before going anywhere else, you know, then what you'll find is there's these two gates, this one and this one here. And these will lead you to other parts of the city, but the moment you leave Arc Medical, you'll see a lot more zombies and a lot more tougher zombies. So you have to be careful once you get out of here. Oh, let me take care of this one. That is, I think that's a mean lady. Oh, what I call a mean lady. This is a higher level, mid-level zombie. Yeah, see, they don't look particularly hideous, but they're actually stronger than the lower level zombies that we've been fighting. So if you get into a fist fight with them, then they will hurt you a little bit. So be careful. Now, where I'm going, once we get through here, is take the left side entrance, if possible, into the city outside of Arc Medical. And once you get here, the first place you'll see is you'll see this window, and then over to your right hand side you'll see a gate. And after you explore this one area, then you'll get into what you call Arcadia here. And now this is really well lit up. Because again, I've energized this area, but usually this place is really dark, and only coming here when it's the morning. So if it's like anywhere before 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then it would be good. And let me just take care of. Oh, okay. So this guy is a really tough guy. He's probably the worst out of the mid-level zombies. And if you don't have a weapon, and if you meet this guy, you're in big trouble. So make sure, again, if you're coming into this area, the zombies do get more restless. So make sure that you have your weapon ready. Okay, let me take care of these guys. Oh, this guy went through the floor. Okay, I guess he's not carrying anything. Okay. Yeah, sorry, my game is lagging. Ever since this recent update, I've noticed a lot more lags again to this game, and it's getting a little bit annoying, but I did want to make this video. So let me put this in the typical emergency power. So as you can see, it gets a lot darker. It's actually even more darker than this typically when you're running around here. So be careful. Oh, if you see Mr. Robot or seek the good seeker, then that's actually good, so long as again you haven't broken any rules of the game or law of the game. Now what you want to do is to get to this area. A lot of times this gate will be closed and you see the button here and you can open it, but get through here. Don't explore Arcadia. This is the area called the Promenade, which is the shopping center of the city. And again, don't explore any place here. Just go as fast as possible and run into this Genesis station. And even if you see zombies, just avoid them. Just run into this Genesis station as quickly as possible. Don't walk, just run. Okay, it'll be very you'll see it very early in once you enter the Promenade, and just go right into this Genesis station. Now the only reason I would suggest for you to go here is to get augments. And if you don't have 2,500 credits or lux, then don't even bother coming into the Promenade. Stay at Arc Medical until you get about 2,500 credits. But the moment you have about 2,500 credits, get this one augment. This is called photosynthetic. And what this augment does is, this is a really good augment. It will restore your health so long as you're in a well-lit area. It will restore your health relatively quickly too. So this is a really good augment. And this is another one of the reasons why you don't go exploring out too often at night until you're strong enough. Is because photosynthetic won't work in the evenings. It will only work when there's either really heavy sunlight or that you have a building in full power and you're running around in one of the well-lit areas of the building. Now, once you press it and you pay for that, then you run into this booth. And then if you augment it, then you'll see it show up in the status section of your AAARMS. So make sure that you see it. And once you have that, then you're in really much more survivable condition, because of the fact that now, so long as you're exploring around in the lit areas like this area here, so long as you run around in the sunlit areas here, then you'll actually restore. Wow, look at all those zombies. That's another reason again why you don't want to come here. You know, if you're lucky, you'll run into zombies where they're all gathering and attacking the seekers, and that would be great. Then I would say maybe you might want to stay here. Unless there's so many that they'll kill the seeker. But if they don't, then and the seeker can kill all of the zombies, then it's really good, because again, you could loot all of these bodies. But be careful, because of the fact that again, Promenade has a lot of zombies, and so while you're trying to loot them, they may attack you, and so you got to be careful in this area. Make sure of that. And there are some seriously really nasty zombies, either called the Widow or the Reaper, and they glow red. So if you see a red glowing zombie, run away as fast as possible. They are seriously strong. And if you don't have a fully maxed out weapon and fully maxed out armor, you're gonna be in a world of hurt if you try to fight a Reaper. Okay, so now once you get that augment, then quickly run. Again, try not to spend too much time exploring until you feel comfortable around this area, and run back into Arc Medical and get your bearings straight again and start, farming zombies. Now you're at a position where you could farm zombies because you have the photosynthetic. So long as you keep this area well lit, Arc Medical, when it's fully lit, will restore your health. Then you could just run around here and farm for as many zombies as possible, because of the fact that you have your weapon, which will basically kill most of the zombies for you. you'll be able to fight them a lot better. And then any injuries you do get will be healed by photosynthetic. It's actually a very good augment. And so that's basically what I suggest you to do in the very beginnings of the game. If you just go exploring, reading the stories, and it's fun to do, but if you waste too much time and don't make that cut in the beginning, then you will have those dark seekers coming after you, and you don't want them coming after you. So spend a lot of time gathering as much stuff as possible, opening boxes, maybe farming a few zombies, transfer the energy to this building, and make that cut. And once you make that cut, then start making the other things like the speed sigil, the armor and whatever, and then keep on exploring. Once you have that cut, you could explore, go outside of this area, hallway area, and start exploring the rest of AAARMS. And while you do that, so long as you keep on resting in the cut, hopefully you'll start getting more material, and then you can make the either a weapon and or armor and or the utilities. As you get those, you'll find that you'll become more and more stronger as you keep on going. Then as you find more upgrade kits, or you buy upgrade kits, then you can strengthen your weapons continuously, which will make hunting easier. Now the important thing though is eventually you do want to collect 2,500 credits and keep them so that you could get photosynthetic. And the moment you get that amount, and you have a reasonable amount of weapons and armor, and you looked all around AAARMS, then I would suggest that you beeline to that Genesis station and get the photosynthetic augment. Now the one warning again, don't do that at night. Once it goes beyond about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, just don't do it. Just go into your cot, sleep in the cot, until, or explore this area, until about 8 o'clock in the evening. Sleep, get up early in the morning in the game, and then run to the Promenade, and then you'll get that augment. And once you get that augment, then I think you will be in good shape. Okay, so that's about it for this video. Let me run back to that little hideout. Yeah, you could start making the hideout once you've powered yourself up as much as possible. And I'll leave that to what you want to do. But anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope this becomes useful for surviving in this game. And yeah, if you have any comments, please post them in the comments section below. If you have any suggestions to new players, post them in the comments section below. And yeah, I hope you keep on watching these videos. So yeah, once again, thank you very much for watching the video. I'll continue to make more P.A.M.E.L.A videos in the future, and I hope you join us at that time. And until then, best wishes to this game. Happy hunting, happy surviving, happy crafting, and as always, Jaya, nice day, everyone.